Back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
We were running against the wind. We were young and strong. We were running against the wind.
Welcome back, 9:30 on the nose on this Friday morning, the 26th day of January. Clay in studio. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, doing good. Thank you so much for your time today.
You bet.
I saw your post on the Alton Area Facebook page, Alton Area History, which is a great Facebook page.
Yeah, it
If you
is.
don't follow it, that's a great group to be a part of.
Yes.
And you were filling us in on your mother's book, God's Portion.
Yes.
Who, Judy Hoffman, who everyone in this community should know the Hoffman last name, and
Yeah.
seeing the comments and posts about just people reflecting on your mom and how much of an impact the book had on them. That was really cool to see, and I only imagine for you it's 10 times what
really
the
is.
feeling is for on this. And how did this book come together? When your mom was doing this, you said 12 years of research?
Yeah. She had a love for the area, and Lars was the first mayor, and that kind of spurned her interest in the history of Godfrey. And so she started researching, and she and Lars had a bunch of fun putting this all together. So
I bet they did.
Yeah.
And take me through your relationship with Lars, who was your stepfather, correct?
correct.
And how was the family life with your mom and Lars growing up? As I'm sure just like me, growing pains at 9 years old or 10 years old, getting
Sure.
your toys taken away. But was it a great life growing up?
Yeah. Lars and my mom met later in life. So I knew Lars when I was a teenager, but
Okay.
because she took his classes and stuff, and I had met him, but they didn't marry till later. So
Okay.
I was fully grown and out of the house when she and Lars met and then got married. And he was a wonderful man. I didn't. He was so good, I didn't trust him at first. I didn't. I thought
That's interesting.
This is too good to be true. He's too good.
Yeah.
And so I thought there's something wrong, and there never was. He was a wonderful role model for my kids and me, and offered great advice and guidance. He was an amazing man.
And when your mom decided it's time to, let's write this book, what was the initial thought process? Was it just we have to make sure this information is recorded somewhere so the folks do know, or what was the initial thought to do it?
Well, she loved history.
Yeah.
And she's obviously a great writer. So it took her a while to put it all together, 12 years, as you said. And the process, I don't think she realized how much she was going to find out.
Yeah.
She came up with some revelations about Benjamin Godfrey and the Underground Railroad that were not before. I'm sure people had sought that information, but she found it.
Well, and sir, on top of that, can we talk a little bit more about those revelations as well?
Sure.
Because we were just mentioning before we came on the Underground Railroad and how it was funded, correct?
Yes.
And can you take me through that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there was a Illinois Mutual Fire Insurance Company.
Okay.
And it spanned up the river in many locations, and Elijah Lovejoy, who we all know here in Alton,
Right.
his family was involved in that insurance company. And she didn't state this in her book, but what she felt was it was one of the very first money laundering operations going, because with the money from that insurance company, they funded the Underground Railroad.
Really?
And it went all the way north to Chicago and then beyond, of course, to Canada, where their ultimate,
Absolutely.
What they were looking to get to.
And to me, I think that's such a fascinating discovery, especially because I'm sure there's been people for decades trying to figure out and put all this information together.
Sure.
Did it amaze her how she was able to kind of stumble upon some of these really just important notions and important pieces of history, especially locally?
Yeah, the connection came when she began to look into Elijah Lovejoy.
Yeah.
And of course, the Underground Railroad was historical. So as she looked into that, she realized that this insurance company had been founded and started by his relatives. And every stop where there was an insurance office going north, she just figured it out, and the trail that it followed.
And did you have some conversations with your mom as she's putting all this together in those 12 years? And
of course.
I mean, I can only imagine it's like every time you keep talking about the book or more progress being made, you're like, Hit me with it now. What'd you find? You know?
Well, she was a little bit secretive with that
Really?
information until the very end. She knows I blab. So she didn't want me telling people.
Mother knows best, you know?
That's right. So she didn't want me telling people before the book came out, you know, that all this cool information that was going to be in it.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's amazing, though, that, you know, you really have such a detailed book and a piece about a smaller region here and locally, because you don't see very many of those stories being told, and I think they're the most important of the American story.
Indeed. Indeed.
And when we're talking Benjamin Godfrey, and I don't know if it's in the book or not, can you take me through some of the revelations and what the initial perception was?
Yeah, he had a very colorful early life. And so he was a seaboat captain.
Okay.
Started on the sea at the age of 9. Wasn't a wealthy man to begin with, but he made and lost many fortunes in those early years. And most of it, he was a pirate. He was given a license. This isn't in the book either because it came before.
Right.
He was given a license to pirate British vessels by Andrew Jackson. And so he legally could, any British vessels in the American waters, he could pirate them and take their booty, as you will. So,
That's incredible.
yeah. So, and then he had a revelation later in life, and he came here to give back God's portion for the sin that he had created.
Really?
Yeah.
And when we're going through this book, and especially for younger generations like myself that need to, I think it's very important to read this, what are they going to notice right off the bat? How is the story told? Is it more of is it chronological? Is it by the year, or is it more of a narrative?
It's more of a narrative.
Okay.
She tells a story from start to finish, and each chapter takes you through somewhat chronologically.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things she leaves to later in the book chronologically to expound upon that idea.
That's really unique.
It was great.
Do you have a moment to stick around? I got to pay
Sure.
a quick bill.
Sure.
9:37 is the time. My lights are going to turn off if I don't hit this break. We'll take a quick pause, and we'll come back with more of this conversation about God's portion right after this.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
Life's better when you're under our roof. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto and home coverage at the right price. Also, you can enjoy the dreams you worked so hard to achieve. American Family Insurance.
For the biggest selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in the Riverbend, visit AltonToyota.com or stop by their location on the Homer Adams Parkway in Alton. Winner of the prestigious President's Award, Mungan Burkhardt Alton Toyota knows how to treat their customers, and they will help you find the vehicle that is perfect for you. For years, Mungan Toyota has been a fixture in the Riverbend, and now Mungan Burkhardt carries the tradition. new name, but the same great service you've come to expect.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Welcome back, 9:40 on this Friday morning. Did the fog ever go away out there? I haven't been out of the building since 6.
A little bit. It's still pretty foggy.
It's like Seattle, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think, and we could have used the rain in summer. I think that we're getting our seasons mixed up here.
It's weird.
I wonder if there's a complaint department to the weather, you know? Getting back to God's portion. You know, I just, the brief time we've been talking, Clay, I think the story of Benjamin Godfrey is just it's kind of a really incredible story in the terms of, you know, coming and righting wrongs. And one of the best, I think, retribution stories out there, because from all accounts, just talking with you, a night and day personality change from, you know, the earlier portions of his life to when he got to God's portion.
Yes. Yeah.
What was the reason for the name of Godfrey? Was it just for him?
His last name.
Okay.
Initially, Godfrey was known as Monticello.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And it later became Godfrey, named after him. But he named it Monticello and had platted out the village and everything.
That's what I was wondering, because I always wondered why that was initially Monticello and switched. It was just to honor Godfrey.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you finally read the book, it comes out, did you ever have to just stop and go, wow, my mom wrote this? And not because not a degrading way, but because we know our moms in such a different way, you know, as a caregiver, as a worker, you know, in some facet. But to see an accomplished book being produced, I mean, that's got to be a really unique feeling in itself.
It was. It was. The first time I read it, which, of course, many years ago, when it first came out, I read it immediately. And I've read it many times since. Right. And every time I go through it, I just am fulfilled with gratefulness for her and the knowledge about the history of Godfrey and a little bit of Alton that she gave our community.
Well, and I don't want to, you know, dive too much into it, because I still want the younger people to go and get this book when they can, and it's everywhere you want to find it. I know that there's copies floating around, and you can get it online still. What one story really hit you the most in this? One nugget of history about this community? Was there just one that kind of stuck with you for a little bit?
Well, I think the main one, and the one I think she wanted to make known the most, was Godfrey's drive and how many things he did for this area, what he brought to the area. You know, he brought the train here, the initial Illinois or Alton to Springfield train. And of course, Monticello College, which is now Lewis and Clark. That was a big joke back in the day. You know, who's going to send well, first of all, they didn't educate their daughters back then.
Oh, yeah.
And so the big joke was, who's going to send their daughters to the edge of the wilderness to be educated? And he made it work and it's because of some of it is because of the people he surrounded himself with. It was great.
Well, and as it seems like Godfrey, just from all accounts, was really pretty progressive and innovative whenever you come into a town and you have to literally just establish something and really establish the foundation and the building blocks of it.
Yeah.
How many, and I don't know if it's documented in this, was there a lot of collaboration from outside entities for the plan Godfrey had, or was it all his real vision?
Well, no, he was surrounded by other great men. He was very good friends with Abraham Lincoln.
Was he really?
And Lincoln, the initial plan was to bring the state capital to Alton.
Right.
And that is what Lincoln promoted. And that's what Godfrey wanted, because then he saw what he really wanted was to take away the transport hub from St. Louis and bring it to Alton because of the riverfront. And he was well on his way to doing that until the death of Elijah Lovejoy.
Wow. So the death
People abandoned this area after the death of Lovejoy.
It was that much of an impactful moment.
It was. People were coming here from the east and some people from the south. The people from the east quit coming because Alton became known as a rowdy western town, murderous, and the subsequent trial of the Lovejoy killers, nobody was ever convicted of that crime.
Right.
And it was a farce.
Yeah.
It was really a farce.
It was terrible.
Because they were bragging all over town about how they killed him.
It's just awful. Yeah. And it's interesting to see how, especially that news can impact the complete dismantling of growth in a community, because, Indeed. I mean, that's the reason we have the circle up there on Central. That was State House Square where that was supposed to be.
That's right.
Did you have a chance to talk to your mom after the book was published and she got feedback on it? Did she ever talk about just the amount of praise that she got? Because a lot of people love this book, and I'm sure that it was reflected to her a couple of times. What was her thought on that it was so widely received by the community? Yeah,
she was very humble, and so never did I ever hear her brag or anything like that. The initial response, I mean, there were a lot of books sold.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit the bestseller list and or anything like that. But she was very grateful for the response she'd gotten, and she went on a speaking tour in the area. Had many times where she spoke about the book and the history of Godfrey, and she was great at it.
That's really, really cool. And Clay, I could talk to you all day long. I really can. But I got to ask you this before I let you go.
Yep.
I was talking to an individual. We were talking about the Illinois version of Donnybrook, which was, what was the name of that show?
Metro Talk.
Metro Talk.
Yes.
And was something that Lars was doing, correct?
Indeed.
Did you have one story of Lars and your mom, and just in a way that maybe the public never got to see it, just the family side of it that always stick to you?
Well, it was a great love story.
Was it really?
It was. The way those two talked to one another, the way they looked at one another, it was a love story for the ages. And Lars was so mild-mannered, yet so intelligent. It was great to see them together. And the way they received the grandchildren, Lars was always full of love for his grandkids. And he'd always say, when they'd come to his house, "Get in here." Yeah, get in here. And then he'd wrap his arms around him, and he was just full of love and joy. Yeah.
Well,
neat guy.
Clay, thank you so much for stopping by. I really enjoyed it. Anytime you want to come back on and talk a little bit more, you're more than welcome to. This is very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
9:48's the time on this Friday morning. We're going to take a quick pause. We'll come back and I'll ramble for a little bit more. Then we got Luis Noya calling us. We're going to see if the Cardinals dumpster fire from last year will continue into 2024. He was in the clubhouse and got the morale report for us, is what I've been calling it. How are we feeling? We'll find out next.